Established Rich coming right back at you. Today we gotta talk about Lil Wayne's tweets where he says he wasn't included in the Grammys and he needs to work harder. And the whole internet looked at him like, huh? This is not a work harder situation. This is a look around situation. Because sometimes the hardest thing for a legend to do is realize that the world moved on and nobody told him. Wayne is not lying. He really believes he just needs to work harder.
Lil Wayne congratulated all of this year's Grammy Award winners while simultaneously acknowledging the fact that he was not included as usual. The rapper took to X saying, "Congrats to the nominees and winners, wasn't included as usual. I gotta work harder as usual." Now, I would love to get your personal opinions on this because I can't tell if Lil Wayne is calling out the Grammys or calling himself out.
He really believes if he puts more music out, if he records more, if he drops more balls, he'll be back where he thinks he belongs. But this is where reality and perception splits and legends get lost because Wayne is still living in a world where Amelia is playing on the radio, where people are screaming his name, calling him the best rapper alive. And when you walk through life like that, you don't even notice the changes. You don't notice when the room sounds different. You don't notice when your impact is not what it used to be. Because everywhere he goes, people still scream. Everywhere he goes, people still call him a legend. So how would he know that the culture don't feel the same about his music as they do about his legacy? And that's a very painful realization, especially for a man who was once untouchable. Because this is not about talent. This is about alignment. It's not about work ethic. It's about awareness. And Wayne has always said he don't pay attention to what's going on. He proud of that. He wears that like a badge of honor. But in 2026, that's a problem. Because now you have to pay attention, not to copy, but to connect. And when you don't pay attention, you start thinking the problem is effort, when the problem is direction. The R.I.C.H drops, 0 Grammy nominations. And in his mind, that means he didn't work hard enough. When in reality, the music didn't move the people. And that's a hard pill for a legend to swallow, because he remembers a time when anything he put out stopped the world. But that time is gone, and nobody around him will tell him. Because everybody around him still benefits from him thinking he's still at his peak. This is what a bubble looks like, a success bubble. It protects you from reality. It makes you think you're still driving the culture, when really, you riding along with it. And the Grammys just held up a mirror, and Wayne looked at it and said, I need to work harder. When he should have said, what am I missing? This is the same pain he felt when he didn't get the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
First of all, I want to say forgive me for the delay. Just the delay, I want to say, I had to get strength. I had to get strength enough to do this without breaking. I must say thank you. I must say thank you to every voice, every opinion, all the care, all the love and the support out there. Your words turned into arms, and it held me up when I try to fall back. That hurt a lot. You know what I'm talking about, it hurt a whole lot. I blame myself for not being mentally prepared for a letdown. And for just automatically mentally putting myself in that position like somebody told me that was my position. So I blame myself for that.
And he said it broke him, and he blamed himself. But again, he misdiagnosed the pain. It wasn't that he wasn't good enough. It was that he wasn't relevant enough in the moment. And that don't erase your legacy, but it does change your position. And some artists are the last to know that their positions changed, because the world still treats them like royalty, but the culture no longer treats their music as necessary. And that's the difference. Wayne is a necessary legend, but his new music is not necessary to the moment. And that's not an insult, that's a reality check. And nobody is giving him that check because everybody is still cheering. But cheering for who you were is not the same as moving with who you are. Wayne is not wrong. He's just misinformed. He thinks this is about working harder when this is about working different. He thinks it's about output when it's about connection. Nobody questions if he can still rap. People question if he can feel like now. And that's a different question. Now let's talk about the real part. The Grammys didn't miss him. The moment did. This was not a snub. This was a separation. Because when you look at the albums that were in those rap categories, you see something very clear. They all sound like right now. They all feel like right now. They all speak to right now. And again, this is not about skill. This is about direction. Wayne is still rapping at an elite level, But elite does not mean essential. Elite does not mean culturally necessary. Elite does not mean timely. And that's the part that hurts, because Wayne never lost his ability. He lost his alignment with the moment. And when you don't pay attention to the moment, you start thinking everybody else is wrong. You start thinking the industry is tripping. You start thinking you just need to work harder. But this is where analytics come in. This is where paying attention matters. Not to follow trends, but to understand how people feel. Because the people will always tell you where you stand if you pay attention. And Wayne has made a career out of not listening. He proudly says he don't know what's going on. He proudly says, I don't pay attention. But in this era, that's a disadvantage. Because now the artists who win are the ones who understand the room. And Wayne is still performing like it's 2009. And the room has changed. The fans have changed. The ears have changed. What moves people has changed. What connects has changed. And if you don't change with it, you start sounding like a legend who's just making music for his legacy, not for the people. And that's why the Grammys didn't call him. Not out of disrespect, but out of irrelevance to the current sound. And that's a hard word, but it's the correct one. Wayne is not irrelevant as a person, but his new music is irrelevant to the moment. And those are two different things. The crowd will still scream for him, but they screaming from the memories, not for the new records. And that's a very dangerous place for an artist to be when the applause are for who you used to be. And nobody around here will say it because nobody wants to hurt a legend. But sometimes the most respectful thing you can do is tell a legend the truth. You don't need to work harder. You need to work different. You don't need more songs. You need more connection to the people. Because the people are not asking for the Wayne from a Millie. They are asking for a Wayne who understands 2026. And that version has not showed up yet. And until it does, the awards are going to keep passing him by. Not because they don't respect him, but because they can't use him to represent right now. And that's a position a lot of legends find themselves in. They don't realize they are no longer the sound of the moment. They are the sound of history. And history is honored, but the moment is rewarded. This is really about what happens when a legend lives in a bubble. A bubble where everywhere you go, people are screaming your name. A bubble where every show is sold out. Everybody treats you like royalty. And inside that bubble, you never hear the truth. Because the truth don't scream. The truth whispers. The truth is in what people play when you're not in the room. And that's where Wayne has lost his touch. He's judging his popularity by the reaction he gets in person. But the game is no longer measured by what happens in person. The game is measured by what happens on people's phones. What they replay, what they share, what they put in their playlist, what they feel connected to. And that's where the disconnect is. Because people love Wayne, but they don't love the new music. And that's the difference. Wayne is operating like respect and relevance are the same thing. They are not. Respect is forever. Relevance is temporary. And if you don't fight to stay relevant, you wake up one day confused. Confused why the awards stopped calling. Confused why the moment moved on. Confused why you feel left out when nobody actually pushed you out. You just didn't move with the time. And this happens to a lot of artists a lot more than people realize. They become so big that nobody around them can correct them. Nobody around them can say, hey, this ain't it. Because everybody around them is still living off who they were. And that's a very lonely place for an artist when you the last person to know. The last person to realize that the sound has passed you by. The last person to see that the game changed and you never adjusted. And that's why Wayne's tweets, I gotta work harder, when the real answer is, you gotta listen harder. You gotta pay attention harder. You gotta study harder. Because hard work don't fix alignment. Understanding does. And until Wayne realizes he needs to reintroduce himself to the present is going to keep moving on without him. Not out of disrespect, but out of necessity. Because hip-hop don't wait. It don't slow down for legends. Hip-hop rewards who speaks to right now. And right now, that ain't Wayne. But the good news is this. He's still a beast. He just needs the awareness, the courage to accept that he is not where he thinks he is. And that's not a fall from grace. That's an opportunity. An opportunity to reinvent, to reconnect. An opportunity to show that legends can evolve too. But that can only happen when he stops blaming the room and starts listening to it. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe, establish rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.